I guess since everybody's here, how are you, Aaron? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
I think we could get started, Erica.
Okay, we'll do. I'll keep it fairly informal since I think we just have one, or we do just have one application and no public members of the public signed up tonight. So tonight is the September 21st meeting of the City of Charleston's Design Review Board. My name is Erica Chase. The members of the board with us tonight are Jeff Johnston, Dino Sliolio, Michelle Smith, Kristen Kraus, Aaron Stevens, and Andy Smith. Members of city staff present are David Meeks, Linda Bennett, and Velvet Simmons. We do not have any agenda items that have been deferred, nor do we have any recusals. The order of the meeting will be as follows. David will give the introduction of the project, and then the applicant will make the project presentation. Then we will have time for board questions. We do not have any public comment with the exception of one email that we received that I'll read for the record when the time comes. David will give city staff recommendations. Then if Aaron, if you have anything that you would like to respond to based on what David has stated in his comments or in the public comment period that is incorrect, you may do so at that time. We will then enter into board discussion in a minute. If everyone could please silence or turn off all cell phones. I'm not going to cover anything regarding public comment since we don't have any other than the email that we received. The kind of virtual specific meeting protocols, David will be controlling the PowerPoint presentation, so he will be able to move the presentation along at your direction, Aaron. And if you could, everyone to give their name when speaking. Video and microphone have been disabled for everyone. That's okay.
Zoom. I just thought it might be absolutely. You should call him.
Mute David. There we go. Chat and the Q&A functions have been disabled. Skipping over the public comment items. And staff will issue meeting results, including their comments and the board motion after the meeting. The results will also be posted on the website listed on the screen. And for any additional information, there's contact information and a website up on the screen. David, just for your information, it's directing people to the BAR website, not DRB. And just as a reminder to everyone, all of this meeting is being recorded. So with that, we will get started with our one and only agenda item. Number 1, 506 St. Andrews Boulevard, requesting the demolition of a single family home built in 1955. David, I muted you, so I'm gonna unmute you. Sorry, when you had the call come in. Or Linda, could you unmute David?
I've got it here. Thank you. Erica, can you just repeat what you said about being directed to BAR?
If you look at your screen right now, the website is directing someone to the BAR, not the DRB.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I will get that corrected. Thank you. Okay, so first agenda item, or only agenda item, 506 St. Andrews, request for demolition of a single family home built in 1955. I could be incorrect, or is that 57 possibly? But just a little bit of background showing where the location is. 506 St. Andrews. Here's a faraway aerial shot, a little closer image. And again, it's almost to the corner of Harrison and St. Andrews, one off of the corner of Harrison. And here is a street view image. It's a little hard to see in this image. And then looking north on St. Andrews. And this is a view across the street showing some of the context. And with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron. Thank you very much. Feel free to let us know. And I'll go through the images one at a time. And if you just say to move on, and we can go through all the images. And
Linda, could you unmute Aaron and Jesse, please?
And are you guys just wanting
They
some?
can unmute themselves.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
You're all set, Aaron. You can proceed.
I was just asking, so do you just want some context and commentary on kind of how we got here, or how would you like us to start?
Sure. Yeah, some context of how you got here. And when you want me to start going through the images, I can just kind of scroll through all of them at a slow pace.
Okay. Essentially, we purchased the property anticipating to renovate it. We live down the street, maybe 5 or 7 houses on North Godfrey Park Place, which is just the next street down on St. Andrews. We had seen that it was listed and knew from some of the neighbors that there was some legal action going against the property owner for not improving the dwelling prior to. So we were able to work that out and ultimately purchase the property initially with the intention to renovate. And getting into the initial kind of tear out phase to look behind the walls and see what we were working with. Basically very quickly became told by both the person working on it that had some knowledge, but then ultimately a structural engineer, that they did not feel it was prudent to proceed down that pathway given the requirements. So ultimately it was not what we wanted, because we had already actually expended funds towards tear out, which is not going to be was not useful funds, I guess, spent, because the demolition is the demolition kind of regardless. Property wise, we back up to a few other properties, and we've been in contact with those neighbors throughout the process to try to make sure it was not overly disruptive. There had been some issues with people occupying the property, kind of sleeping in there, and they had some homeless issues, police called, that kind of stuff. So the neighbors were very optimistic to see something finally done with the property. We've been in the neighborhood about 8 years, I believe now, and it's been apparently vacant that entire time. The backing up neighbor has told us she thinks the house has been vacant going on more like 20 years prior to that. So it's been quite some time since someone lived. We expected to be in bad shape, but we were unfortunately found that it was in much worse shape once we got internal and found all that was going on within the property. So I think some of the external pictures are to give a sense of the external structure. We were actually more optimistic here because the actual masonry did not look to be overly disrupted. There is a side picture coming on the what would be the right side of that picture ultimately. I don't know exactly the order that they're in, but when we get to that side of the building, we'll see some of the evident masonry issues that they found. We don't know for sure, but that looks to be have later add on this piece you're looking at here. It looks to have been the original screened in porch by the best we can tell. It has the blue ceiling inside, but it appears to have been closed in later, at least by what it looks to us, and the structure. It has the detached garage separately. This is looking at the back side of that there. This is in between the kind of the front going towards, that's the bathroom there, the one bathroom of the home. The person helping us with the tear out, this is actually where they stopped because they were concerned with any more removal of the actual tile or subflooring, that they were concerned that it would create a safety hazard for them to continue to be able to work in the space. So they actually stopped prematurely doing the tear out there. And that's where you can see probably there that some of the subfloor was removed. This is in, I guess, what I would consider the foyer of the 3 bedrooms and bathroom that's just off the main living area. When they pulled up the subflooring in those sites, that's where they saw that the underlying actual, I don't know if you would say the subfloor itself, but the last layer before nothing was very rotten, and we were unable to kind of walk safely through thereafter. So that was the last of what they took out. This is in the central aspect of the home. Kind of the kitchen is in the far space that you'd be looking through, and this is the middle bedroom space. This had the largest ceiling defect, allowing the rain and the water to kind of come through, and leaves a pretty large hole that also has the structural elements gone where they would have attached to the outside cinder block. It doesn't translate very well in that picture, but if you can kind of look centrally up in the top of that picture, just off towards the left, kind of underneath, right about where you are now, there's significant termite damage in the middle of that. That was a beam that came across to the middle. We understand that the beam that would be parallel to the field of view, that would be crossing across, was the load-bearing beam for the structure, and there's actually a section missing from that middle part because it was essentially just rotten and fell apart when they took out those pieces of the wall. That's looking, kind of walking into that space and turning back towards the post that would have been at that corner of the bedroom, and that's some of that really, really severe termite damage that was at the corner of the property there. Or the corner of that corner of the property. This room is facing, I believe it's Harrison, I think is on that side. That's the house that backs up from the adjacent street. Those neighbors, we've kind of asked, and they were one of the ones that had to call the cops on people kind of staying at the property. This is also the side, that corner at the top left of that, facing it this way, the top left of that window. There's a large structural crack that goes all the way through there, which generated one of the structural engineer's bigger concerns, is that there's nothing that is shear stabilizing that wall structure. It is just concrete block on top of concrete block. So his recommendation, if we were going to attempt to secure this home, would be that we would have to put rebar through the entire exterior of the home and concrete secure that to the footings, which he was not sure were sufficient to support the load. May need to be dug out entirely in order to be able to do so, to provide that shear strength to the wall structure in order to make it to code. He also had concerns with the lintels of the windows, and it said that he thought we were going to have to take down at least the top 3 to 4 rows of block in order to rebuild the lintels to structural requirements, and then rebuild back up above that to even be able to start back on the roof structure again itself. That's some of the termite damage over that central area. Again, you can see that there's some of those cross members that are just gone in the kind of farther field of that picture before it kind of right behind the light bulb, I guess. The structural engineer's opinion was all of these cross members were underperforming and undersized for the structure, so they would have to be universally sistered to larger cross members in order to meet structural requirements. There's quite a bit of rot where most of the members come in contact with the outside wall. I guess you can see a portion of it there. That is where some of the worst is, but there were several other places in the home where those, and forgive my lack of kind of correct terms for that, I guess the truss or whatever's kind of coming to a triangle there at the edge of the home. There's a lot of rot and areas that are not really well secured any longer. We're very happy about the yard space. There are some more concerns. That tree in the foreground is heaved quite a bit, and talking to the neighbor, the middle of the yard towards the left side of that tree is growing at a severe angle over the home, and we do intend to take those out for safety reasons, but we do not at all want to adjust the kind of the beauty of the oaks on the property. We have 5 on our property down from there, and we have a very excellent tree person that we intend to use to help kind of beautify them and make them look much healthier, but allow light into the property. The back property here we're seeing the right of, we spoke with that neighbor at length recently, and she's lived in that home for decades. There's a section, I think you can see the new fence on the left side of that. That was actually a large tree that had fallen and sort of been left there by the previous owner. So that property owner had to manage from their property over beyond that. But we took that out and helped them fix some of the other areas.
Maybe you could address the, I'm going to go back to the structural report.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a little easier to read.
Sure. Mr. Powell is the structural engineer that was kind enough to come out and take a look at the property for us. And I think I've talked about most of those. I don't want to.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Mainly tell you he did say the piers underneath the floor itself. At this point, he felt that there was so much to tell that it wouldn't even be a relevant feature, but he said he would ultimately need to actually get underneath to look at the footings, which is the last one, the concrete footings at the bottom. But he thought that was at the point where it was kind of one of many details and really not a game changer, but it just may be another issue that would have to be addressed if it was unable to be demolished.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any board members have any questions for Mr. Heisen? Aaron, I'm sorry, would you mind stating your name for the record? I don't believe you did at the beginning, and if you did, I apologize.
Sorry, these board meetings are always hard.
Problem.
Formalities of them. Aaron Heisen.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Anyone have any questions? With none, we have one email from a member of the public, which I'll read, from Andrea Woodfield. Dear David, Moreland is in favor of the demolition of the house at 506 St. Andrews. Moreland resident and architect Kate Campbell has been inside the house with the owners and agrees that it is not feasible to repair. With your added information that the owners are working with architect Neil Stevenson and that the scale and design of the house in relation to our neighborhood is being taken into consideration is good news. As long as the owners understand that this property must remain residential, Moreland is in agreement to its demolition. And that is from the Moreland Zoning Committee, and the listed members on the email are Andrea Woodfield, Peggy Bone, Jeff DeMille, and Kate Campbell. I do want to remind the board, and just for the record, that we are looking at just the demolition. We are not talking about what will be replacing the demolition on this lot should it be approved. So with that, David, if you could give staff recommendations, please.
Okay. Thank you. This is David Meeks. The ordinance that discusses demolition in the purview of the Design Review Board states that the board should consider the architectural and aesthetic features of the structure, the nature and quality of the structure, including its architectural fabric, any historical significance, the nature and quality of the surrounding area, and the structure's contribution to the overall streetscape of that area. DRB has no purview over the design of the single-family home that may replace this structure. Staff has examined the above considerations when contemplating demolition for this property. We feel that this home has little architectural merit or historical value. That, along with the condition of the structure and with the provided structural report that states the home is unsafe or unsound, staff recommends approval for demolition.
Thanks, David. Mr. Heisen, do you have anything to respond to with regard to the comments or David's recommendations? I assume not, since they're all in favor.
No, not at all. I mean, we really, honestly, it kind of broke our heart to have to do this. We really bought this property with the intent of kind of keeping it, and we kind of lovingly call it the little pink house, and we've joked about if we have to make the next one pink. So this wasn't something we went into wanting to do this, but definitely want to do what's best for the neighborhood though as well.
Understood. Thank you for your thoroughness as well. Any board member discussion or a motion?
If no one has any comments, I would be delighted to move to support demolition based upon the lack of architectural context with the neighborhood and the lack of architectural and historical significance of the structure.
So we have a motion for demolition based on the lack of architectural merit of the home and the structure. Is there a second?
This is Andy. I'll second.
Second by Andy. I will now call roll. Jeff?
I agree.
Michelle?
Yay, in favor.
Aaron,
Yay, in favor.
Kristen,
Yes, in favor.
and yes in favor for myself as well. So thank you very much. And that concludes
Good
our
luck
meeting.
with that project.
Thank you,
Sure.
applicants.
Short and sweet tonight. We are all through.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
See you all.
See ya.
Have a great
Bye.
Definitely.
Uh,
Congratulations. Thank you, Aaron.
Bye, y'all.
We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.